Welcome back. It's Lisa Marie, not Presley. We're going to look at the trap of the hidden north, the little season hope. What about if we're wrong? What about if we're tracking the true timeline, which is the truth, but my spirit has picked up on the counterfeit, the online narrative of the Camp of Saints, which saying they physically migrated to the far north? Can this be a calculated deception? And could have I been wrong? But my stuff that I'm looking at, all the different videos and everything that I've been doing, I'm trying to figure it out myself. So it's like we're an investigator. We're putting all the different parts together. It's like, tying all the red thread together. But what about if this deception about the Camp of Saints? I'm not saying the Camp of Saints are the deception, but where they migrated to. What about if that's so that you believe that you have been left behind? Maybe there are some false teachers. Maybe they're weaponizing geographical scriptures to trap you in a theology of distance. Today, can we dismantle this? Can we expose it? What is really happening in the little season? And unlock the absolute hope of the present perimeter. False teachers everywhere. They point to scriptures describing Mount Zion on the sides of the north to claim the camp is a physical destination at the Arctic Pole or a hidden continent. But they are hiding the raw linguistic data. In the original Paleo-Hebrew architecture, the word for north is Tzafon, Tzafon. It comes from the root that literally means hidden, concealed, or treasured. So the sides of the north is not a compass heading, it's a spiritual condition. It describes the hidden, unapproachable authority of the Father's throne. When Yahusha was asked for geographical coordinates of the kingdom in Luke 17, he shut it down instantly. Neither shall they say, lo here or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within your midst. The camp has not gone anywhere. So by turning a spiritual fortress into a physical travel itinerary, false teachers are pulling your eyes off the perimeter and trapping you into a survivalist panic. Why is this deception flooding the airways right now? Because we are living in the little season of Revelations 20. It's the final cosmic harvest. Satan has been let loose from the abyss and his frequency is broadcasting across the earth. And his primary objective is to make the covenant remnant believe there is no hope. If the enemy can convince you that the camp is in the far north, he achieves three things. He silences your voice. You will stop operating in the decade of pay, which is the mouth. You won't prophesy to the dry bones because you think you're in the wrong geographical location. He misinterprets your pain. You will look at the fracturing of your old relationships, your systems, your worldly dependencies and think you're being destroyed by an enemy rather than realize that you are being harvested by the loving Father. He creates isolation. He wants you to look at the raging swarms of Gog and Magog outside the wall and fall into despair, thinking the miracles and the angelic protection has ceased. So here is the absolute truth that guarantees your victory in this little season. The perimeter is holding you right where you stand. The Hebrew word for camp is Machaneh. The fence is Chet that protects the life, none, from the chaos which is Mem. The camp is ongoing, active coordinates where the earthly realm and the heavenly host intersect. Very similar to the standing stones. So stop looking outside the fence. The swarms of Gog and Magog are doing exactly what they were programmed to do. Stop consuming the chaos of this dying world system. Trust the cutting process. The separation is mandatory. The Zion, the blade, is actively detaching you from the old, expired world stalk, because you are ready for the King's storehouse. The hand on the handle is an open palm of protection. Activate the breath, the pay. Open your mouth. Do not echo the complaints of a dying world. Declare the true timeline. Declare the sovereignty of Yahusha over your home, and watch the dry bones rattle into life. You are not abandoned in the wilderness, and you do not need to look to the physical north for safety. The angels are still marching, the miracles are active, and you are securely inside the camp of the saints. So stand firm. Welcome back. This is Lisa Marie, not Presley. We're going to try to decode the camp of saints. So when Revelations 20 verse 9 talks about the camp of saints being surrounded by Gog and Magog, maybe it isn't describing a casual holiday, a tent setup. It's a precise, lethal, and ritually pure structural blueprint. To solve what this camp truly is, and we need to pull back the modern English translation and look at two specific lenses: the ancient Paleo-Hebrew Word Pictures and the apocalyptic text of the Dead Sea Scrolls. There is 4 letters of Machaneh, which is actually in the Paleo-Hebrew mindset means camp. It's an operational perimeter established by the Creator. So we're going to look at this word, and the first part of this word is mem, which also means water, but it's an external threat. So mem represents water, raging waves, or a massive overwhelming focus or flow of chaos. This could signify the sea of nations outside the perimeter. The next word is Chet. This is a structural barrier. Chet is a pictograph of a fence, a wall, or an inner chamber. It represents a boundary line that cuts off what is inside from the outside. Then we've got Nun, the core inhabitant. Nun depicts a sprouting seed representing life, continuous activity, and future generations. Then we have Hay, which is actually the revelation of it all. Hay represents an open window or a man with hands lifted up, meaning behold or to reveal. So when you piece this code together, Machaneh literally translates to the fence that protects life from the surrounding chaos. So inside the perimeter is life, order, and covenant alignment. Outside is a roaring sea of spiritual confusion. Revelations 20 verse 9 isn't a future panic. It's actually assault, trying to breach the final divine boundary line. Now the evidence comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls. The law of the camps, the Damascus document. Throughout the Damascus document, the faithful remnant are systematically addressed as living in the camps. They used this wilderness language because they knew the institutional systems in Jerusalem had been compromised. To stay attached to the old system was to rot. To move to the camps was to align with the true calendar timeline. Now the presence of angels, the war scroll, 1 QM. The rules state that the camp must be kept free of any blemish or compromise. Why? Because the text explicitly states the holy angels are marching alongside your armies. The camp is a physical perimeter intersecting directly with the heavenly host. The judgment, Gog. While Western theology treats Gog as a far-off mystery, the Dead Sea Scrolls that name him directly in the context of the camp's victory. It describes in 1 QM 11.16 the total sovereign execution of Gog and all of his gathering. So notice the architecture here. Just like in Revelations 20 verse 9, the people inside the camp do not use carnal weapons to fight. They simply hold their position of purity inside the perimeter, and the consumption of the enemy is executed entirely by the divine fire and by the hand of Michael. We're going to sift through the truth in the 7,000s here. So the linguistic access is: the false narrative relies on westernized translated text, but the absolute truth here opens the Hebrew roots to the Kaf, the Vav, and the Zayin to track the harvest. The chronological access follows compressed timelines, which is a rabbinic calendar, which is a false narrative. But we're going to follow the Septuagint, the Enochian 364 day timeline into the 7,000 years. And the presentation access. The false narrative is its personality-driven emotional hype. And the absolute truth is no face, only pattern-focused, data-driven, and manuscript proof. If you are tracking the true calendar, the architecture, you know we already crossed out of the 6,000s and we're moving deep through the 7,000th year from creation. This means the millennial rest has passed, the old institutional stalks are drying up, and the sharp edge of the Zayin blade is actively separating the grain. So if your old alignments to the system or relationships are fracturing right now, don't panic over the cut, because the blade is held up by an open palm of the Creator. Stop looking at the dry bones of this world in silence. Open your mouth, activate the breath, and stand firmly inside the camp of saints. This is a different take on Gog and Magog and the swarms. Who are they exactly? Where is the structural map? We have to look at the precise mechanics of what happens when the prison doors of the abyss were opened, and that was at the end of the 1,000 years, the Millennial Kingdom. When we strip away the westernized theology and look at the raw data of the text, the whole picture snaps into perfect, beautiful clarity. And I have been researching and putting up videos and trying to understand it. So this is what the videos do, is it makes that picture, it's like putting everything together. It's like you're a crime analyst and you're looking at the crime scene and you're trying to work it out. So this is what I found so far. So in Revelation 20, verse 7 to 8, states when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan's released from his prison and goes to deceive the nations in the 4 quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. Right? But the nature of the swarms. So let's look at this. So the Greek phrase in the Greek is the Gog and Magog. I can't say it, but you know what I'm saying. It's in Greek, but describes their volume using the Hebrew concept of swarm, or the sand of the sea. This is innumerable, dense, it's a mass. So who are they? These are the populations, the nations. Now this is just another bit of research, so we've got to put it all together from all the other videos and everything else that's out there, because we're trying to put all the clues together and find the evidence, right? So they're nations and the genetic lines that lived outside the direct covenant governance of Yahusha's millennial reign. Now so here we go, we're going to nations and we're going into genetic lines. So they lived outside the direct covenant. They are the people who chose to remain attached to the natural worldly stalk rather than being transformed. Now we're talking metaphorically, stalk is the wheat, the stalk. Now, and the tares, which are the stalk. So the stalk of the tares. The deception, for 1,000 years they were kept in check because the adversary's frequency was locked in the abyss. There was no spiritual broadcast of rebellion on the earth, But the moment Satan is left out, his frequency hits the airwaves again. Because these people never had the true law written on their hearts, they were instantly synchronized back into deception. And they formed a massive, chaotic swarm driven by an irrational, deep-seated hatred for the order, for the truth, and the light inside the camp. Who are the remnant inside the camp? Now, this is the most powerful realization you can cross into. So if Gog and Magog are the deceived swarms raging outside the fence, who are the people holding the line inside the fence? Who are they inside the camp? So if you're the covenant remnant, you are the modern manifestation of the Netzarim, the Watchers, the Branches, and the Sons of Light described so vividly in the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is why the Dead Sea Scrolls is very important. Don't think for 1 second these aren't truths that are written in the Dead Sea Scrolls. From my point of view, they give us more evidence and they give us more to the story of the Creator. So they are the keepers of the true timeline. So when the rest of the world was completely synchronized with the modern compressed calendars and artificial cycles of the world systems, they were given eyes to see the true architecture of time. So they recognize that they are moving through the 7,000s from creation. This knowledge isn't just trivia. It's a spiritual frequency. Knowing the true timeline means you're operating on the king's schedule, not the world's counterfeit clock. Now, in the War Scroll, the 1QM76, the ancient writers knew that the Camp of Saints isn't a place of isolation. Its coordinates where the earthly realm and the heavenly realm intersect exactly again like the standing stones. So, how do we live out that now? So, the angels haven't stopped marching, right? The miracles haven't ceased. The reason the world doesn't see them is because the world is looking through a chaotic frequency of the swarms outside the fence. Inside the camp, under the protective wing of the Ruach, which is the spirit of the Father, supernatural protection, divine synchronicities, and angelic nearness are standard operating reality. How do we live like this right now? Understanding this blueprint, does it change how you handle the current pressure of the world? Right? Do not focus on the swarm. If you watch the mainstream news or look at global systems, you will see nothing but chaotic, polarizing swarms of Gog and Magog gathering. Do not let your eyes wander outside the fence, the Chet. The chaos is doing exactly what it's programmed to do when the adversary was loosed. So recognize the siege for what it is. The swarms are surrounding the camp. That's why it feels tight. That's why old relationship structures and worldly dependencies are fracturing and being cut away. That is the Zayin blade working inside the open palm, the calf of the Father, to separate you completely from the field before the final fire falls. So with everybody pointing to the north and everybody looking outside of us, what they're doing then is we cannot then be inside the camp to be the witness. We're not a silent spectator. Now, this is what upset me a little bit. Not upset me, but it confused me about this little season, all the people in it. You know, they're all following different YouTubers that talk about different things, right? And I sort of got into that for a while, and I was looking at it and it just didn't sit right with me. But this sits right, because I think this is how we should be living right now. We need to activate our voices. We are not just spectators like they were spectators with watching, thinking that they're going to be raptured. We're not the spectators anymore. We're not silent. So we need to open our mouths and speak life, speak the true timeline, declare the absolute alignment of Yahusha over our household. The Raush is hovering over the exact point of testing, waiting for the sound of your voice to put the dry bones back together. You haven't been left behind. You don't need to panic over the state of the world. We exactly belong where we are here, safe, marked, and guaranteed inside the campus of saints.
Excuse me for a while I'm wide-eyed, and the systems are caught in the fracture. I watch them for a while, turn a blind eye to the math of the final chapter. If the Zayn falls sharp, would you not tremble when the camps of the light slowly assemble? Yeah, I might seem so strong, standing here so long, while the old world goes wrong. Yeah, I might seem so strong, but the stock is all gone, and the fence holds us strong. Have you wondered for a while in the cold north, while the swarms are all caught in the middle? Their calf is an open palm in the deep calm, but the blade cuts right through the riddle. If a lion roars, the earth will listen. Inside the perimeter, the angels glisten. Yeah, I might seem so strong, standing here so long, while the old world goes wrong. Yeah, I might seem so strong, but the stock is all gone, and the fence holds us The man is a raging sea outside the wall. The Chet is a boundary, will not fall. The prey is an open mouth. Activate the breath. We are the living ones, pulled out of death. They haven't gone anywhere. We haven't gone anywhere. We haven't gone anywhere. Excuse me for a while I'm wide-eyed, and I'm safe right here in the middle. The storehouse is open wide. Step inside. We are caught in the holy middle.
Revelation 20 describes a final siege where adversaries surround the camp of the saints. While modern theology often treats this encampment as a poetic metaphor, ancient Hebrew and sectarian manuscripts present a different reality. These texts define the camp as a highly organized, physically lethal, and ritually pure structural perimeter. Historical interpretations usually follow two tracks. Preterists argue this perimeter was breached during the first-century Roman siege of Jerusalem. Futurists project the conflict into a standard geopolitical war. Both models fail to account for a critical chronological anomaly. If the 1,000-year millennial reign has already historically concluded, then we have entered the final, structurally active harvest period, known as the Little Season. The architecture of this encampment is mapped through three specific datasets: the Paleo-Hebrew word math of the term Machaneh, the purity protocols of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and a cartographic anomaly designated as Terra de Asso. Identifying this perimeter requires shifting the view of prophecy from future news to present tense structural data. The word Machaneh is built from four Paleo-Hebrew roots: mem, Chet, nun, and he. Mem is chaotic water, Chet a wall, establishing a barrier blocking external entropy. Nun is a sprouting seed, he an open window, defining the camp as a barrier protecting revealed life. The Essenes at Qumran identified as the physical camp of the saints, a community garrisoned in the wilderness for the final war. These excavations show the physical purity infrastructure required by the War Scroll. The community maintained extensive ritual stone baths, barring physical blemishes from the perimeter. This strictness was tied to an angelic protocol. The War Scroll explicitly notes that the camp must remain undefiled, because holy angels were believed to be actively garrisoned alongside the human remnant. This ancient Israelite standard was a high-purity military encampment, distinct from the casual campgrounds or tent cities common in modern translations. Machaneh operates as a structural intersection, the exact geographic coordinate where the earthly remnant and the heavenly host share a single physical space. In Revelation 20, the original Greek text uses the word gay for earth. Historically, this term refers to a regional land or soil, rather than a global sphere. This photograph shows the modern Jordan River. The limited acreage of modern Israel presents a logistical problem for biblical narratives that describe a land housing populations as numerous as the sands of the sea or the great walled cities of the giants. To find a landmass matching the scale of the biblical perimeter, researchers point north toward the veiled sanctuary of the upper latitudes. Observe the Bering Strait between Russia and Alaska. Though the landmasses are separated by barely 50 miles, the international dateline zigs and zags through this corridor, creating a 3-hour time zone leap. A 3-hour temporal gap represents roughly 2,000 miles of planetary rotation. This creates a data mismatch that suggests massive sections of the northern landscape are either compressed or entirely absent from modern mapping. This 1959 photograph shows the interior of Camp Sentry, a secret U.S. Army base built as part of Operation Iceworm. The military successfully carved a nuclear-powered city directly into the Greenland ice sheet. These subterranean networks were officially abandoned due to shifting ice, but their existence confirms that advanced, hidden civilizations can be sustained within the northern perimeter. This 1713 circular map plots an enormous landmass connecting Russia and Greenland. In these vintage records, researchers point to the label Terra de Asso. Based on Latin roots, proponents interpret this as the land of Jesus. This hidden geography provides a context for modern political maneuvering, such as the sudden, high-stakes interest from leaders like Donald Trump in acquiring Greenland. The data points to a camp currently located in a geographically veiled northern theater, hidden by cartographic deletion and temporal manipulation. Most eschatology assumes we are waiting for the 6,000th year from creation to trigger the millennial reign. This timeline relies on the rabbinic Seder Olam calendar, which compressed centuries of history to obscure the timing of the Messiah. To correct the timeline, we must look at the original chronology preserved in the ancient Greek Septuagint manuscript. Applying the LXX chronology shifts the timeline. humanity is actually tracking between the years 7527 and 7533 from creation. Because the seventh millennium operates as the cosmic Sabbath, the 1,000-year reign described in Revelation 20 has already historically occurred. Looking at the current Hebrew year value of 7527, the structural focus lands on the number 7, represented by the letter Zion. In Paleo-Hebrew, Zion is a dual-purpose tool, pictographed as both a sword and a harvest blade. This defines the current era. We are living in a period of divine severing and the rapid gathering of a harvest. We are not waiting for a prophetic countdown to finish. We are operating deep inside the little season harvest cycle. The Chet boundary, the Terra Deosoa map geometry, and the 7527 timeline merge into a single locus point. The physical evidence of the harvest blade moving through the earth is seen in the sudden, rapid polarization of every social and spiritual structure. In a literal field, the peak of the harvest season forces rapid maturation. We observe this dynamic globally as the wicked abandon subtlety and the righteous draw into uncompromised devotion. Simultaneously, the global return to scriptural foundations and Hebrew roots signals the Spirit actively gathering a remnant out of exile. Because the little season is defined by final separation, legacy institutions, religious, economic, and political, are fracturing under the pressure of the Zion blade. Navigating this friction requires recognizing that the Creator is structurally active in the timeline today. The camp of the saints is a literal, present architectural perimeter, and the Zion blade is already in motion.